If you've been paying attention, phone bans have been taking effect in schools all over the US. I remember about a year ago, another school in town switched to a complete phone ban, and everyone started worrying about it spreading. I asked administration about it, and they told me if we did a phone ban, we'd have advanced warning, and we'd get a chance to contest it in an open forum. I left it alone after that and didn't hear back until over the summer, when I got an email reading, "Important, new cell phone policy." In summary, phones banned. Here's why. Cry about it.
I had thoughts.
In my zealous crusade against tyranny, I dug up some related issues, like age verification and censorship. But before we get into that, we should really ask, is all of this really such a bad idea? About 40% of teens report persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. 18% have experienced a recent depressive episode, and 5.3% are estimated to have an anxiety disorder. Much of that has to do with social media and poor sleep, which a lot of the time is caused by using phones at night. We're also having trouble focusing in class. 46% of teachers say student engagement has declined since 2019. And as long as we're on the subject of schools, let's look at their solution. Now, schools have been dealing with the distraction problem for a while, and for some reason, it's usually by banning whatever's popular at the time. In the 50s, it was yo-yos. In the 80s, it was Walkmans, 90s, pagers, and Tamagotchi. Now they're doing phones, which feels weird because you'd think if anyone were to learn from history, it'd be the teachers, but whatever. Though this isn't actually the first time they've tried this. When phones first came out, not smartphones, schools banned them. They were worried about drug dealing, cheating, and gang coordination. But when the iPhone came out, schools recognized that they were different. Having a computer in your pocket has certain advantages. So policies were relaxed, and they started being used in classrooms as educational tools. But leading up to 2020, pressure was building over mental health issues, cyberbullying, and rising screen time. France even banned phones during school on a national level. But all of that really changed with COVID. Everybody took a hit over the pandemic, and teens were hit especially hard. People are looking for a silver bullet to fix us. When students started returning to school, phone bans really picked up. By 2024, over 30 states had anti-phone legislation, and the default became bell-to-bell prohibition, regardless of the context or circumstances. Now, schools love to tell you this is all thoroughly researched and backed by science. But if you actually look through the papers, they don't support bans. One of my school's primary sources, which they use to justify their prohibitionist policy, says a prohibitionist policy would be counterproductive. And they're right. Not the schools, the papers. Phone bans have no meaningful effect on overall screen time or even social media use. There's also no evidence of increased test scores, grades, or general engagement, other than anecdotes, usually from administrators. I should note, there's a Norwegian study that links decreased phone use with higher GCSE scores, but that couldn't be replicated and their methodology was questionable anyway. And phone bans aren't just useless. A lot of students rely on these tools for everyday tasks like calendaring, assignment tracking, and two-factor authentication, or communicating with parents. But beyond that, it prevents us from having more important conversations about how to engage students and get positive results. Not to mention how disadvantaged this is going to make us in the workforce. When was the last time you didn't use your phone during the workday? I mean, maybe this is a hot take, but I feel like school should be preparing us for the real world. I don't know. Now, to be fair, in a lot of places, schools have done a good job at recognizing how ineffective abstinence is. For a long time, when it came to sex and drugs, students were told just not to engage, which didn't work. So, some places started teaching harm reduction. Basically, if you're going to do it, here's how you can do it more safely. And the outcomes were significantly better at lowering teen pregnancy, STIs, and overdoses. So, with the phones, I'm saying we just skip to the education part, because that's what works. If you want to help, teach us what we can do with our phones, how much use is healthy, how to recognize when you have a problem, how to approach social media, how to stop phones from interfering with sleep. If you just want to make it someone else's problem, just ban them. Speaking of not actually helping, in 2023, the UK passed the Online Safety Act. It is a pretty extensive act, but the bit we're interested in is about adult websites. It states, quote, "Platforms that publish their own content must take steps immediately to introduce robust age checks that meet Ofcom's guidance. Since then, These states and countries have adopted age verification legislation, and the scope's expanded past adult content. On the legislative front, there's been a push towards an App Store-based age verification system. In this system, you'd be required to prove you're 18 with a face scan or a government ID. If you're under 18, you need to link a guardian's account and ask them anytime you wanted to download something. A lot of major tech companies have actually endorsed this approach, which I'm sure has nothing to do with the fact that they make their money by selling your data to advertisers, a revenue model that benefits immensely from millions of people sending them documents and biometric data. Even setting that aside, this is incredibly dangerous for users. Storing that much sensitive data is like putting a priceless jewelry collection in a museum. If it wasn't a target for bad actors before, it sure is now. This isn't theoretical either. Platforms have experimented with this sort of data collection have already had major breaches. Now, assuming all of this just works, what exactly is the goal? Earlier this year, YouTube launched age verification. They'll scan your search history and decide if your viewing habits are mature enough. If not, you have to give them your ID, credit card, or a face scan. If you don't, YouTube will disable content that falls into these categories. Few people will disagree with limiting the worst content of all of these. But what happens when other interests come in? Religious institutions that don't want their kids indoctrinated? Patriots that want to preserve American culture? Law enforcement concerned with public safety? An administration with an unfavorable election coming up? Like I said before, our best bets are education and training. As far as content moderation goes, we should absolutely have companies build systems to help parents limit harmful content and integrate safety measures. But the responsibility ultimately lies with the parents. They need to decide what's best for their kids, what they're ready for and what they're not. And when it comes to classrooms, we need to invest in healthy tech education, the same way we teach safe sex and drug-related harm reduction. We need to train teachers on how to integrate tech into their classes and how to respond to inappropriate use consistently. And we need to develop engaging curricula. If the kid doesn't want to learn, you're fighting an uphill battle. The key is making them want to learn. The world isn't an easy place to live. It's crappy for most people most of the time. But if we're going to improve, it'll be through building up people, not walls. Thanks for watching. This video was made as part of a school project. The goal is to promote digital rights and access for teens. The final product is a website, hosting my collected works on this topic. The site is public and the QR code is on screen. If you'd like to learn more or contribute, which I very much welcome, please visit and speak your mind.